I want you to think about something. Have you ever noticed how some people can sit through an entire conversation about sports and feel absolutely nothing, while everyone else is debating scores, celebrating victories, or arguing over players they've never met? These people seem completely disconnected from the excitement. They don't memorize statistics, they don't rearrange their schedule for games, and they definitely don't understand how a stranger kicking a ball into a net can ruin someone's entire week. At first glance, it might seem like they simply don't like sports. But psychology suggests something much deeper is happening, because people who don't obsess over sports often see the world differently. They process status, identity, competition, and even entertainment in unique ways. And once you understand the psychology behind it, their behavior starts making a lot more sense. So why do some people become emotionally invested in sports while others couldn't care less? Let's decode the psychology. Number 1. They don't need borrowed victories. One of the biggest psychological reasons people love sports is something called basking in reflected glory. Researchers discovered that when a team wins, fans often feel as if they've won too. That's why people say, "We won," even though they never stepped onto the field. The victory becomes part of their identity. It boosts self-esteem. It creates a temporary feeling of success. But people who don't obsess over sports often get their sense of achievement elsewhere. Instead of attaching themselves to someone else's accomplishments, they focus on their own goals, hobbies, careers, relationships, or personal growth. Their confidence comes from direct experiences, not reflected ones. This doesn't make them better or worse. It simply means they don't experience the same psychological reward that sports fandom provides. For them, watching someone else succeed isn't emotionally satisfying in the same way. They'd rather create their own victories. And that's a very different mindset. Number 2, their identity is less group-based. Humans are tribal by nature. We naturally divide ourselves into groups: our school, our country, our religion, our favorite team. Psychologists call this social identity theory. The idea is simple. Part of our self-image comes from the groups we belong to. Sports fans often feel deeply connected to their teams because the team becomes part of who they are. An insult toward the team feels personal. A victory feels personal. A loss feels personal. But people who aren't interested in sports often build their identity differently. Instead of defining themselves through groups, they define themselves through personal values, interests, or experiences. They might feel more connected to ideas than communities, more connected to individual passions than collective identities. That's why they can watch two rival teams play and feel completely neutral. Their sense of self isn't attached to either side. And because of that, the emotional highs and lows simply don't hit as hard. Number 3, they crave different forms of stimulation. Here's something interesting. Not everyone's brain seeks excitement in the same way. Some people love fast-paced competition, uncertainty, rivalries, last-second victories. These experiences trigger anticipation and emotional arousal. Sports are designed to create suspense. You never know what's going to happen next, and the brain loves unpredictability. But people who don't obsess over sports often satisfy that need differently. They might get excitement from solving problems, learning new skills, creating art, reading complex stories, building businesses, exploring ideas. In psychology, this relates to personality traits, especially openness to experience. Highly open individuals often become fascinated by concepts, creativity, and intellectual exploration. Their version of excitement doesn't necessarily involve competition. It involves discovery. For them, a fascinating book can be more thrilling than a championship game. A new idea can be more exciting than a last-minute goal. Their dopamine comes from different places. Number 4, they separate entertainment from identity. Many sports fans don't just watch games. They live them. The emotional investment becomes incredibly personal. Some fans experience genuine stress before important matches. Others feel sadness after losses. Some even experience mood changes depending on their team's performance. That's how powerful emotional attachment can be. But people who don't obsess over sports often maintain a stronger separation between entertainment and identity. They can enjoy watching a game. They can appreciate athletic talent, but they rarely allow the outcome to affect their emotional state. Psychologists sometimes associate this with emotional detachment from external validation. Their mood is less dependent on events they cannot control. They don't want their happiness tied to a scoreboard. And because of that, sports remain just another form of entertainment, not an emotional roller coaster. This mindset often extends beyond sports. They may also avoid celebrity worship, internet drama, or other forms of emotional investment that consume large amounts of mental energy. Number 5. They value time differently. Let's be honest. Following sports requires commitment. There are games, highlights, news transfers, injuries, statistics, predictions, endless discussions. For passionate fans, this time investment feels rewarding. But people who don't obsess over sports often perform a subconscious cost-benefit analysis. Their brain asks a simple question: what do I get from this? If the answer doesn't feel meaningful, they struggle to stay interested. This doesn't mean they're overly serious. It means they prioritize differently. Maybe they'd rather spend 3 hours learning a skill, working on a project, traveling, gaming, reading, or simply relaxing. Psychology calls this selective attention. The brain constantly filters information based on perceived importance. Sports fans assign high importance to sports-related information. Non-fans don't. So their attention naturally goes elsewhere. It's not that they can't care. It's that their brain has chosen different priorities. Number 6. They often think more analytically. About competition. Competition is fascinating. For many people, sports represent the purest form of competition. The strongest wins, the fastest wins, the smartest strategy wins. But people who don't obsess over sports sometimes view competition through a different lens. Instead of focusing on physical contests, they become interested in systems, ideas, and real-world outcomes. They may see business as competition, technology as competition, science as competition, personal growth as competition. Their competitive instincts still exist. They're simply directed toward different arenas. In fact, some people who appear completely uninterested in sports are intensely competitive in other aspects of life. You just don't see it on a field. You see it in their goals, their ambitions, their creativity, or their pursuit of mastery. The competition never disappeared. It just changed shape. Number 7. They are less influenced by social momentum now. Here's perhaps the most overlooked reason of all. Many people become sports fans because everyone around them is. Family members watch games, friends discuss matches, coworkers talk about championships. The interest spreads socially, and there's nothing wrong with that. Humans naturally adopt the behaviors of their environment. Psychologists call this social conformity. We often participate in activities because they strengthen social bonds, not necessarily because we love the activity itself. But people who don't obsess over sports often show a slightly different tendency. They're less influenced by collective enthusiasm. Just because everyone else cares doesn't mean they automatically will. They're comfortable being outside the crowd, comfortable having different interests, comfortable saying, "I don't really follow sports," without feeling embarrassed. This trait often appears in other areas of life too. They may be less influenced by trends, less driven by social pressure, and more willing to form independent opinions. Not because they're rebellious, but because their interests come from internal motivation rather than external expectations. And that's a powerful psychological trait. So what's the bigger lesson here? People who don't obsess over sports aren't necessarily less passionate, less social, or less competitive. In many cases, they're just investing their emotional energy somewhere else. While some people find identity, excitement, and belonging through sports, others find those same things through creativity, learning, entrepreneurship, relationships, travel, music, technology, or personal growth. The human mind is incredibly diverse. We all seek meaning. We all seek connection. We all seek excitement. We simply find it in different places. And that's what makes psychology so fascinating. The behaviors that seem strange on the surface often reveal something much deeper underneath. So if you've ever wondered why sports never captured your attention the way they capture everyone else's, now you know. Your brain may simply be wired to pursue fulfillment differently, and there's nothing unusual about that. In fact, it's a reminder that there isn't one correct way to spend your attention, your energy, or your passion. Because at the end of the day, what matters isn't whether you cheer for a team. What matters is finding something that genuinely gives your life meaning. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more psychology insights into human behavior, personality, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives. And tell us in the comments, do you follow sports, or have you never understood the obsession? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.